What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. On the episode today, we are switching things up, Dal. We're going to try out having a listener call into the show.
Yes, we are.
I don't know how it's going to go.
Me neither.
I hope it's good. We're going to try and keep the call kind of short. We don't want to keep our guest on the line all day because, Dal, we're talkers.
Totally do that.
We could, dude. But before we get to the call, why don't we go ahead and snap into our normal operation and crack it off.
Normal op.
Crack it off with some gratitude, bro. What do you got for your 2-minute takeaway?
2-minute takeaway. Well, I mean, I think I got to acknowledge first that I have a takeaway for us trying something new.
Yeah.
For us trying to isolate this two-way conversation for the sake of helping more.
Yeah.
I love that. That's kind of like a little applaud to both of us for making this happen. It's been a goal of ours for a while.
Long time.
So being able to check that off the list of where and what we're trying to do and be in the world is awesome, man.
Feels good.
So in a roundabout way, kudos to us.
Yep.
And Liz, who's going to be calling in.
That's right.
Second thing, gratitude-wise, 2-minute takeaway-wise, you know, I'm getting a haircut this week, Jerem.
Nice.
And it's been a while, dude.
Yeah. 3 months?
Yeah. I look kind of like a silverback gorilla.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about like muscle-wise. I'm talking about hair-wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's been bothering me, dude. I'm getting it addressed. I'm getting it handled. Things are opening up. The world's starting to become a little bit brighter, and I love that.
Love that.
Third takeaway, dude, is that my roommate, Mike Aviles, Mike A, changed man, unblessed or blessed and stressed or something like that.
Yeah.
Too blessed to be stressed, something like that.
There we go.
So during the quarantine, dude, he's just been stacking weightlifting equipment.
Nice.
And now that it's almost over, we have like a full gym in our house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is super cool, dude. So for example, this morning I was like going down to get coffee and he was in our home gym just being like, damn, I should work out. And I'm like, what are you going to do? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, I'm joining you. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got an hour and 20-minute workout in my own living room.
I love that.
And that is just, if you guys know me, the audience knows me. I love working out.
That's happy.
Now I can do it wherever I am. Because I'm either at home or at work.
Right.
Especially with the shelter in place thing.
Yep.
So I can always work out now.
Love that.
Dude, those are that's my takeaways, man.
Sick takeaways, bro. Sick takeaways. Yeah, you're flying first class on Takeaway Express, bro. I love that.
Dude,
Let's
feels
see.
good. But the cool thing about first class, there's 2 seats.
See, dude.
One for you, bro.
Hey, man, here we go. I'm putting my luggage in the overhead compartment. I got my laptop in the sleeve on the seat.
My laptop.
I got my seatbelt buckled, dude. And on this flight, I'm drinking ginger ale, y'all.
Oh.
That's my jam, dude. When I'm 30,000 feet up, I'm drinking ginger ale, bro. It's also good for the tum, dude. If you
It is
know.
good for the tum,
Nice
dude.
little ginger blast. Anyway, Dal, my 2-minute takeaway is, A, what you said. I'm stoked for this new format. I don't know how it's going to go, but I think it's going to be dope.
It's going to go great, dude. I can already feel it.
B, I spent 4 days?
3.5.
I spent some days in the Wholehearted studio, and, you know, I love that. And, you know, I'm just really proud of what wholehearted.org is becoming. I feel really, really lucky and grateful to kind of be in on this project kind of at the ground floor.
Yeah.
And for those of you who aren't familiar, go to wholehearted.org.
I was just about to ask you, like, why don't we explain what that is a little bit?
Check it out, y'all. It's like a dream for Betterment Bros fans because it is a website purely dedicated to your own personal development. And I don't know if y'all have heard of Dr. Gabor Mate, but he is one of the world's leading experts on addiction and mental health. And I mean, this guy's got millions of views on YouTube. He's
up there, dude.
He's incredible, man. And he's one of the thought leaders on wholehearted.org, along with TJ Woodward. I don't know if y'all heard of Brené Brown, but these are the folks that we're hanging out with. This is the stuff that we're working with. And so anyways, I got to spend 3 days in the studio for like the 10th time. They're long days, but so rewarding. That's my gratitude, man.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got to get up there. I'm glad you get to be a part of that process. And
It's dope.
You know, I guess for the fans too, it kind of, what's that word, dude? When you, layman's terms.
Layman's terms.
In layman's terms, wholehearted.org is like masterclass.
That's
for
right.
personal health, self betterment,
Yep.
all that stuff.
That's
and it's
exactly
and it's
it.
for the public.
Yep.
Right. So if you want to learn how to boil the perfect egg from Gordon Ramsay, you can find that on masterclass.
Right.
But if you want to learn how to like take a deep dive inside your heart and your mind,
yep,
wholehearted.org.
Dude, you should be doing the ads. What the hell am I doing up there, bro? You nailed that. That's
Damn.
that's the
Hell
truth,
yeah.
though, bro. So now let's talk about what's going to go down today. We're going to call Liz, and what are we working with today, Dal?
So if you listened 2 episodes ago, this is our same audience member, Liz, who wrote in about wanting to kind of find different activities and hobbies. And, you know, we talked a little bit about social anxiety and overcoming it and how to create the network that you want. That was what the episode was titled.
Mm-hmm.
So after that episode, Liz wrote back and was, she was happy with the feedback, and we talked a little bit, and she kind of had some more things that she wanted to talk about and discuss. And so what those things were is essentially she was in a rough relationship three years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And with that relationship, the person she was dating was involved with drugs and maybe kind of had a bad reputation with other people. And she just kind of wanted to process it with people that understand, people that have been through what she's been through. And she hasn't really found a good platform to do that. And I think she said they've been broken up for 3 years. But still, there's still some like lingering things. So for the audience, that's what we're going to get into, is kind of discussing what's still lingering, why it's lingering, what it looks like, and what we can do moving forward.
Love that. Love that. All right. Well,
You want me to pitch anything else?
no, dude, your pitching is on point today. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get into that conversation with Liz. We hope you guys enjoy it. I'm Jeremy Miller,
I'm Dallas Terrell.
and we are the Betterment Bros.
Hello.
Liz,
Yes.
This is her.
what's going on?
There we
It's the
go.
Betterment Bros. You got Jeremy and Dallas here. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. Yeah. We just got all the technical issues knocked out, so we're feeling good now. We can breathe.
Good. Always a stressful part.
What was that?
That's always a stressful part, getting
Yeah.
all figured out.
It was insane. We had to charge our headphones. We had to charge the computer. We had to charge the microphones. Everything was at 20% battery, so it was terrible.
Except for us. We're running
Yeah.
at about 85% bat.
Maybe 90.
Nice.
What about you? Where's your batteries at?
I would say about 85.
85? Okay. 85's good.
Yeah.
How's the day
Sunday.
been? What are you up to?
Just chilling, hanging out, decompressing from the week.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Liz, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on and how we can support you?
All right. So I kind of reached out to you guys because I've been doing a lot of kind of like self-growth stuff for the past few months and reading different like self-help books and stuff. And something that kind of has been coming up kind of over and over is the shame of like a past relationship with dating an addict.
Gotcha.
So, so we've been broken up for 3 years, so it doesn't like actively affect my life at all. But I think it's just I never really addressed like shame of the relationship and things that happened, and like the relationship as a whole. So I think it definitely affects my relationship moving forward, and I don't want that to be like a part of my identity.
Of course. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad you got out of there.
Yeah.
That was probably a good move.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
okay.
been good. And I moved on from the relationship like really well. I didn't handle it like poorly. I
Right.
did it pretty healthy, but it's just now these things are kind of coming up that I never really addressed. It was like it never happened. And so.
Well, I think we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. I hope that that's okay. And just as a disclaimer, if at any point we're kind of veering into territory that you're not super comfortable talking about with us on a recording, you can just let us know and we can always edit around it, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
So you mentioned that some stuff has been coming up lately that you're trying to address and look at. I'm wondering if you could give us a couple examples of those things that are coming up.
Yeah, I think there's kind of one thing that has really kind of come up, and it during the relationship there was something that happened, like a whole kind of week long big like drug bender that I ended up like pretty much kind of getting drugged by my boyfriend.
Gotcha.
And it just turned into this whole like crazy us on drugs like thing, and I think I like deal with a lot of guilt about that I even kind of ended up partaking in that, and it's something that like has like hate like weighed really heavily on me.
Totally.
And so I think that's kind of like one of the main things. And then I think just in general, the relationship as a whole, like, you know, having dated him, it was like, it's so embarrassing to me that I even like kind of put myself in that situation, and, you know, him not having like a good reputation, and just kind of enabling a little bit, not intentionally, obviously, but,
right.
You know, just stuff like that.
Of course. Wow. Well, sorry to hear about that. Obviously, that's totally a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess the first thing that kind of comes up for me is I'm sure it was, you know, to some degree, like manipulation, you know, of like wanting you to be on board so he could feel better about like the things that he was doing, you know? So I know that doesn't make it like better or make it okay, but I think kind of understanding maybe like why something like that would happen could make it easier, where it's like, yeah, I mean, it sounded like you like weren't on board with like him doing drugs, or like, you know, maybe the drugs that he was doing. Do you know what he was doing, by the way?
Yeah, he was a heroin and meth addict.
Gotcha. Okay. I got some experience with that, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when he drugged me, he like pretty much drugged me with meth. And so it was like, and I've never done anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and it was tough
traumatic,
because, and my family and I like tried to help him a lot. My parents even helped like pay for part of his rehab one time.
Wow.
So huge. I was definitely not on board with, you know, like the drugs stuff. I just kind of like accidentally got wrapped into this really bad week.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, Liz. How do you see that coming up now? Like, what is it coming up as? How is it showing up to where you notice it in your life now that you want to kind of take a look at with us?
I think that I would say it probably just kind of make it like I don't feel maybe like worthy. I don't know if maybe worthy is a little strong, but you know, I don't feel like I'm gonna find a relationship that's normal, or like, you know, someone that's I'm not gonna find a normal relationship or a healthy relationship where I'm not gonna be judged for that, you know, or like someone would look at that as like, oh, you're damaged, or, you know, something like that.
Gotcha.
So I guess just kind of like, moving forward with like a healthy relationship is where I would say it would affect me.
That makes sense. Yeah. And almost kind of like judgment of like, you know, the next person that does come along the way, you got to like tell them about that experience. And it's like, how's that going to land with them?
Yeah.
Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, I know from experience that, I have a past very similar to this guy as well. So, I definitely had a lot of like, dude, how am I going to be in a relationship moving forward with someone with like this dirty past and, you know, these negative aspects of myself that have happened. And, you know, I think there's fear there because we don't really know. How could you ever know what someone, like how someone would perceive that in the moment? You know what I mean? Like that next person isn't here. We haven't even told them yet, but our mind tries to like figure that out. Like, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? Is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? And I kind of just had to like leave those judgments behind, but also I was really like forthcoming with them, where it's like, hey, this was a part of my experience. This is a part of who I was. This is something that I went through, and I'm kind of a better person now for it. And it sounds like you are too, right? Where you went through that.
Yeah.
and grew, right? Like most
Yeah,
relationships
definitely.
suck, and then we have so many shitty ones that we know at the end kind of what we're looking for because we went through all this
Yeah,
garbage. So it's almost like part of the ride, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, another thing too that I'd like to offer, Liz, is and if I'm putting words into your mouth, please feel free to let me know. One thing that we notice a lot with people that are in recovery. So obviously, I don't think that you getting or being under the influence of meth during that time really counts as you being in recovery per se. However, a lot of people that go into recovery, especially when it comes time to start dating again, they assume that they can only date other addicts or former addicts because if they dated a quote unquote normal person, there would be this huge judgment because, like, oh my God, I was a drug addict. I'm so ashamed of that. Like, if I told a non-drug addict about my past, they're never going to want me. And there's this like feeling of being less than or unworthy. And what we will call to mind very often is that, generally speaking, that feeling of being unworthy or being unwanted comes long before the addiction took place. And then,
Yeah,
going through the addiction and things like that kind of amplifies those false beliefs, that the false stories that we tell ourselves. And so I'm wondering if that resonates with you at all. I mean, do you notice, like, if you look long back in your past, have feelings like that ever come up before this guy?
yeah. I mean, I definitely think they have. Um, but yeah, I just think not. It's so hard to relate anything to that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like just that in general. Just that whole situation is just so embarrassing to me.
Right.
But yeah, I would definitely agree with that before this relationship, obviously, to even like have gone into this relationship and stayed in it, I would have had to have like some of those issues before.
Mm-hmm. So here's another thing I'd like to kind of take a look at, and just let me know kind of how this feels. But so if we look at being embarrassed, if like you're recalling these times that you guys were together, this relationship as a whole, when you feel a sense of embarrassment, what does it actually look like? Like, do you see a memory in particular? Do you hear other people's judgments, or is it, or your own for that matter? Like, describe to me the feeling of being embarrassed. What do you see when you think about that?
I definitely think like other people, what you said about like hearing other people or like my friends and stuff and my family. Now my family was pretty supportive, but like I don't know, the whole thing just kind of to me was embarrassing, like who he was. I don't know. I guess I don't really know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
That's a hard question to answer.
It's a big question, right? Like, so let me give you an example. I'll think of things that I'm embarrassed about a lot, and it's something that our minds really tend to do. And there's this piece of our mind that will replay these judgments that we have of ourselves that are built upon what we think other people think of us, right? So something that like when I go on a webinar, right, every week and I say some stupid shit that I then beat myself up over it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that I said that. Like, people probably think I'm such an idiot. And then, but afterwards, everyone's like, dude, you killed it, And so it's like the embarrassment, the shame of it is almost completely self-created.
Right.
And one thing that I want to just offer is like, we've all done things to be embarrassed about. I think I don't think that I don't want to deny you that feeling of being embarrassed. What I'd like to offer with it is maybe just becoming curious about how much of the embarrassment you're creating in your mind versus how much really existed in the world. So like for my friends, there are times where I do things that I'm super embarrassed about, and they're like, dude, it's all good, man. Like, you're just being goofy and like whatever, but I will let that tape run on repeat in my head. And that's what I try and bring awareness to, right? So with your situation in particular, it's not like we can go back and hit Control Z and kind of undo the whole thing. But what we can do with it is work with it right now and how it presents in your life. So when you find these old stories kind of playing through your mind and you're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like when that happens, do you feel a physical reaction?
No, not so much. I feel like I probably used to more when it was kind of more fresh.
Okay, good. And so what I would offer then is like when you notice yourself reliving these moments or these memories, all you have to do to help alleviate the impact they have on you now is just become really curious about it. Okay, wow, I feel really embarrassed when I think about that. Okay, I'm looking at that. I'm watching myself feel that. And the biggest piece of advice I can offer when that stuff comes up is to not allow yourself to identify with it. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say or assume as we're reliving something from the past, as we're experiencing a difficult memory, we will allow that to become permanently who we are. I did those things.
Yeah.
That's who I am. But the truth is that our thoughts and who we really are two very different things. And when you watch yourself have thoughts, when you recognize that voice in your head that's saying, dude, you fucked up, you're in this crazy relationship, you're damaged, like you got all this baggage, there's a voice that's saying all that. And if you can pull back from it just a little bit in your mind and recognize that there's something witnessing that, what that witness is who you really are. And if you can disassociate and recognize that I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts, you'll still have the thoughts, but they'll have less of an impact in the present moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that is one thing I feel like it has become a part of my identity, and I feel like I don't want that, especially because it was 2 years, which in the, long scheme of things, it's like that's such a short amount of time, and I don't want it to be a part of my identity.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one thing I was thinking about too, Liz, is kind of like if for you to like go through all of that for 2 years, it seems like you were very like compassionate towards him of like wanting to help. Do you feel that way? Like, I mean, you said with the family helping out.
It became like my 24/7 job to try and like save his life.
Totally, yeah, and it sucks, right? Because you're trying very hard to help him, right? Unfortunately, right? Like the help that he needs is like a total like him journey. But it's like, yeah, we want to be helpful, we want to support, we want to fix, we want to be there. And that's like an extremely like compassionate thing to do. So with experience of kind of being you and the boyfriend, like in my life, I guess ex-boyfriend, we'll clarify that. But yeah, like with experience with that, it's like, how can we try to be less like harsh on ourselves for like trying to care for somebody, right? Like simply you were trying to like be a positive source for this person. And just because the results didn't work out of like him getting better, I don't necessarily think it makes you like a bad person or a shitty person or like something to, I don't know, like coin like very like negative, it's like you were really there for him. You were really trying to like be an advocate for this guy getting his shit together. And the fact that he chose not to, I mean, I don't know if he did or didn't, but it sounds like he might not have. But it sounds like that's kind of his shit to own,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I definitely agree with that. And I don't take responsibility. Like, I mean, I was 21. I was so naive, So
right.
At the time, I didn't know anything about it. And like looking back, I don't feel like it was my job to save him at the end of the day. But I think just, dealing the things that I dealt with and went through, I don't have a lot of friends that have gone through that.
Of course.
And that can relate with that. So I think it's just kind of like, the things were just stayed kind of inside me. And I've just never really had, anybody to relate with it on. And that's why I kind of, when I reached out to you, I talked about, would you think Al-Anon would help? But I think because it's not like actively in my life. So it was just kind of like finding the right like people.
Like the right venue to kind of normalize that experience.
yeah, and kind of like work through it and let it out, you know.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think there's two parts. Like, I know we kind of talked about Al-Anon, you and me, when we were talking, and, you know, I think it would be effective for the sake of like communicating it and getting it out, just because that would be therapeutic in its own realm, like for you. And then there's like kind of the other side of the coin, which Jeremy was kind of more speaking to, of like working through it internally with yourself, right? Like kind of becoming curious of why maybe we felt embarrassed, or, you know, why this is like something we shouldn't talk about. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of both sides of that coin of talking about it and working through it. And I think congruently would both be extremely beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe try it. Maybe try an Al-Anon meeting and see what it's like. Because I've never been to one personally.
Yeah.
But it couldn't hurt. It's not going to make things worse. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think how to basically just deal with somebody currently in your life, but I think it'd be a good way to just meet some people that can relate, for sure.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to look at too, Liz, was you know, when you think about like what happened, you know, back then and in the relationship and things like that, and then, you know, you mentioned like that you don't have like a close group of friends that have been through something similar, so there's a lot that you'd like to process, but, you know, don't really have the right venue to. Like Dal said, I think that it's two-sided. I think there is like the positive community side where Al-Anon is. I've been to Al-Anon before. It is a very supportive group and community. And so I definitely recommend that. I also think, you know, I recommend to pretty much everybody to try and just try out a little bit of a therapy, you know, and I think there's a lot of stigma that comes with that. But, you know, I've done therapy before. I think it's wonderful. And even if you just go for a little while and say, hey, I've got this thing, I'm kind of hung up on it, and I really just want to process with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely recommend that. And then, you know, like Dal said, I'm really curious about kind of how you're internally working with it, because when we very first connected, you know, you mentioned that you're really on this path of spiritual awakening and, you know, getting in touch with, you know, your essential self and reading self-help books and things like that. So I'm wondering now, when you think of these things and worry about, like, or not worry about, I don't want to say that, but when you're thinking about the past and you don't want that to be your identity, what about it do you feel you identify with the most?
I don't know. I think I don't know if this would be like the right way to put it, but just kind of like attaching to these like unhealthy relationships, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would make sense, but like it basically just feels like having an unhealthy relationship where, you know, like a guy has an issue and I'm like there to fix it and need to fix it and stuff, that like kind of feels like a part of what my like brain has told me, you know, like part of my identity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So when it comes up now, it's kind of like, I don't want to be that person that's in bad relationship after bad relationship. Is that kind of what you worry about identifying as?
Yeah, like not being able to have a healthy relationship, for sure.
Gotcha.
Okay, got it. So that right there is exactly what I'm super curious about, because, you know, as human beings, we come, you know, and when we think about when we're kids, everything is wonderful. Everything is fun. Everything's a game. We get to play all day. And as we, you know, it's really interesting. Like, think about when you're a kid, what we're afraid of the most is loud noises,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's in the closet, like a loud boom, and it scares us, and we feel kind of cowed and we retreat. And as adults, what's really interesting is that we need the noise all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're more afraid of the silence. And that, to me, is a really good illustration of how the years of life can shift our basic personality, what we really are is more an accumulation of what's happened in our life versus just who we are in our life. And so when I hear you say, I don't want to, be that person that goes into unhealthy relationships, and, the narrative that I hear, a belief that I hear that I'd like to challenge a little bit is that I'm not worthy of a healthy, good relationship, because that is chronically like one of the biggest false beliefs that people have just generally, is that
Absolutely.
I'm not good enough. And it shows up in all kinds of different ways. Like I know people that they have like 3 degrees, they did their master's over here and their master's over there, and all they do is work because, 20 years ago, mom or dad said one thing that altered that belief about themselves of I'm not good enough. And so what they do in the world is they work, they learn, they go for the good grades, all in an attempt to prove that wrong. Right. And at the end of the day, that's why you see people that have master's degrees and doctorate degrees and they're still not happy, is because they're looking for something outside to prove that inside thought wrong. And so what I'd like to encourage you to do in your own work, in your practice, whatever that may look like, which we'll get to, I'm sure, is really looking at those beliefs and just challenging them a little bit. Because the truth is, just because you had a bad relationship doesn't mean you don't deserve a good one.
Yeah.
And when your perception is that, when you believe that so truly and so deeply, it will continue to show up, because your perception is what creates reality. And so when we're working with core false beliefs, these stories that we tell ourselves, what I invite is just gently challenging that, questioning that, because if you can answer yes to, if I asked you, like, are you a good person? Do you do good things in the world? Right there, you deserve all the best, right? And so it's really a matter of looking inward and challenging those beliefs, altering the way we perceive reality. And then all of a sudden, you'll notice like these different things kind of opening up. But as long as we're holding on to that belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, that will continue to create the reality, which is why a lot of people go from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship, is because deep down they believe that's all they deserve. And that's what I really want to challenge. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely did.
So let's jump to some homework.
Yeah.
Val, I'm sure you've got some homework.
Some homework. Yeah. Is that cool with you, Liz?
Oh, totally cool.
There we go. Okay.
So let me ask you, what are you reading right now?
So I bought the Dark Side of the Light Chasers.
Nice.
So I started reading that. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to recommend.
Yeah. What do you think so far about it? What do you think about it?
So far, yeah, it's really good. I haven't gotten super far into it, but I got through the first couple exercises.
There we go. Did you do them? Were they fun? Were they weird?
Yeah. No, they're not weird. No, I think that so far it's been a really great book.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really proud of you for reading that book. It is one of my all-time favorites. I'm trying to get everybody to read that book. And while you read it, I really encourage you to do those exercises, especially the ones where you go into meditation. And Debbie Ford offers all like the guided meditations with, a lot of questions that you go in and ask yourself in the silence. And because here's the thing, Liz, is that everything that you need, you already have. And I hate that cliche. I really do. I feel like it's so overused, and it's overused to the point where people don't buy into it at all, because it's like, oh yeah, okay. But the reality is that if you really look inward at, why do I believe these things about myself? The answer that you find is what will bring about the relief in the world and how you show up in it. So really good on you for reading that book. I'm going to add another book to that list, and it's by Eckhart Tolle. It's called A New Earth. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
Okay, put that one on the list, because the reason I love that book in particular is because what Eckhart does is shine a light on the ego, where it comes from, what its function is. And what you'll recognize as you go through this book is like, oh my gosh, all these stories that I tell myself, they're not even me. and that just being able to disassociate from that concept brings about so much relief from embarrassment, shame, and guilt and things like that.
I love that. Yeah. That's the next book on my reading too. So I
Mhm.
can't really add too much to that book because I haven't read it, but I'm excited to experience that myself.
It's heavy. Liz, let me tell you something. I read that book and it fucked my head, dude, because it's like pretty much like all the shit that I tell myself, it's this other thing inside my head that I thought was me for the longest time. And when you can kind of detach from that, you realize like, oh my gosh, like I am enough. I am worthy. There's just this thing called ego that's telling me I'm not. And your ego is literally built of all the judgments that you've had about yourself that others have passed on to you. And I think that as soon as you start recognizing that, this sense of embarrassment was pressed upon you, it didn't, if there was no one around, you wouldn't be embarrassed. Right. The reason we get embarrassed is because there's people there to bear witness to whatever dumb shit we did, right? Dumb in quotes.
Yeah. And have an opinion about what they think about what we did.
Exactly. They're passing judgment. And then we're like, oh my God, what do people think? And what do people think is the definition of embarrassment. If no one's around, you don't really care. Like a little piece maybe, but like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. But there's so much less judgment attached to it because there's no one there to pass judgment. And so with the ego, what's really there to explore is, okay, well, if I experienced that and nobody else did, and there's no judgment there, what's that story look like then? If I take the story away, what does that emotion have to thrive on? And that is really, really good inner work.
I love that. Wow. He's talking me into getting the book too, Liz.
Like, and I'm taking notes. I'm writing everything down.
Well, that'd be a good book. Yeah. I mean, you have another book too right in front of you, Jerem. Were you going to talk about that one?
Yeah, I've got another book, Liz. It's called Conscious Recovery. Now, I know you're not actively in recovery, but I still recommend the book because it talks very little about addiction and a whole lot about the mind. And I wanted to just read you a little bit from it. And let's see. I just lost it. Okay, here it is. All right. So he says, so the author is TJ Woodward. He's a really cool guy. And he says, recovery is not about changing yourself. It's about loving and accepting yourself. At the time, this didn't make sense. He's talking about early on in his recovery. It didn't make sense because all I could see was how much was wrong in my life and how much I needed to change. What I couldn't see at the time is this. Love and acceptance are much more powerful change agents than judgment. Miraculous things can happen when I shift my approach from changing this or that about myself, from what's wrong here, what needs to be fixed, to radical self-love and acceptance. So instead, thinking about what's right here, what inside me is here to be celebrated. What about me do I love right now? What about me can I improve on? What about me impacts the way I present to the world and the people within it? And so that reframe, Liz, I wanted to offer to you because it sounds to me like, as someone just on the outside, it's like you dated a guy that had a problem with addiction. I mean, there's millions and millions of people that have been in your exact situation. I just want to normalize that because to me, while there is shame and embarrassment, I'm not going to deny those things to you. I think like Dal brought up earlier, there's a lot to be celebrated there. You tried to help this guy. That means you're compassionate. That's nothing to be ashamed of. I think that having stuck it out and tried and your family getting involved and everyone's trying to help this guy, to me, I see a hero.
Me too.
Right. And so I want, when you bring that energy into the world and say, yeah, like I dated a guy and he was not going about things the right way and he was using drugs and, I stuck it out because I saw the good in him and I wanted to help. And, eventually I recognized that it was no longer serving either of us and now it's over. But you know what? I tried. To me, I see someone that's got a bleeding heart, that's compassionate, that wanted just to do nothing more than to see the good in somebody. And if you take that energy to your next relationship and you tell the next guy, like, yeah, I mean, I'm really compassionate. I tried to help and I couldn't anymore, so I got out. To me, I'm like, damn, dude, you're awesome. That's like, dude, you should get a trophy for that, you know? And that's really the energy of Al-Anon is like, hey, let's celebrate the people that are on the sidelines just cheering along, you know? And it is painful and there's a lot of loss, but there's also a lot to celebrate. And so I just wanted to read that quote so that you could acknowledge yourself internally for what you did do, because that's much more powerful than maybe looking at what you couldn't do, which is get the dude off drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said,
Yeah, I
Jeremy.
definitely like that, kind of looking at it differently, as opposed to looking at it as like weak, looking at it as strength.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, we do that to ourselves sometimes.
That's right.
It's like it's easy to focus on the things that we don't have. It's easy to focus on the things that we didn't do, or right, like the things we did wrong. You know, it's like, well, what did we do wrong? Like, we didn't save him, and then we just get kind of hung up on that and
Right.
don't see any of the other beauty, like Jeremy just kind of acknowledged. Wow. Did you have any other questions for us, Liz, as far as like, you know, things you wanted to ask us or bring up or explore, anything like that?
I think that's kind of it.
Gotcha.
Moving on from that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're moving on for sure. And we're just going to keep moving on. One thing I was going to say too is if you want to like discuss kind of the things that you're going through with those books or like the assignments with Debbie Ford or anything like that, we'd love to kind of be there for you. And, you know, we almost have like kind of this history now of talking and knowing what's going on and being in your corner. So we'd like to continue that too, if that's something you're comfortable with, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great.
Yeah, like, yo, bros, check it out. I drew my shadow self. Like, you want to see like how bad it is, you know, or whatever?
Yeah.
We'll like fax you over ours, and we can all just kind of discuss like how terrible artists we are and stuff like that. And
I hate to stop the show dead in its tracks, but did you just say fax it over?
I did, yeah.
When's the last time you sent a fax, bro?
I don't know if I've ever sent a fax.
We may as well just send it over on a dinosaur, dude.
Fuck, dude. I think I meant scan.
Okay, there we
The
go.
word I was looking for was scan.
I mean, we can take photos with our cell phones.
Yeah, we can just like send it over Facebook like very easily. Yeah.
I don't even know how to send a fax anymore, dude.
Fuck, dude, you're calling me out, man.
I know. I'm sorry, dude. I just had to.
Yeah, it's okay. Damn.
But Liz, yeah, I think you're on the right path. I think everybody's on the right path,
For
even
sure.
if we don't know it. And I hope this was helpful. I hope that you know, we're not trying to get into like clinical therapy or anything like that. For that, I definitely recommend getting a therapist. You know, and if you haven't already, I would look into that, and we can help you find someone that you resonate with if you need it. But just know that we're here in your corner to kind of rally for you and hopefully try and encourage that inner work and recognition that you're a lot better off than your narrative would let you believe.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely helped me change the narrative. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say too, as far as therapists go, if that is a route that you want to take, Psychology Today is a sick website. It's almost like Craigslist for a therapist.
That's
and
right.
You can kind of see the prices and what insurance they take and see pictures of them and who they are and where they went to school and what they specialize in. And you can kind of email them back and forth and see if they're a right fit. And kind of like Jeremy said, dude, I think everyone needs a therapist because we all got problems.
Mhm.
We're just,
Yeah, I had a great therapist. I went to for years, and I haven't been back. And I was planning on going back, and then kind of the whole COVID stuff happened. And
oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Damn COVIDs.
Yeah, the COVID.
Yeah, I haven't had a haircut in like 3 months, so because of the COVIDs, we've all kind of taken our L's on that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that definitely back into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we definitely encourage that, and I think just kind of lastly, we want to just like thank you for being vulnerable with us and like vulnerable, but also like having the courage to kind of talk about your stuff and letting us hopefully be helpful to you too, because people don't do that, you know? So thank you so much for allowing this to happen. I'm sure, like Jeremy said, there's millions of people in this exact same situation. I mean, I've been in your situation. Jeremy's been in your situation. You've been in it. Fuck, the whole world kind of probably has too. So we get to like help others through being vulnerable ourselves and talking about it. So that's really huge. And thank you so much for letting us be a part of this with you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course.
All right, Liz. Well, we're gonna let you go, but we're always here for you, and we'll do some regular following up with you. And as you're reading Debbie Ford, like Dal said, if you need support on those exercises, reach out to us. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All
yeah,
right,
of
Liz.
course. Enjoy your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, see you
bye.
later.
All right, bro.
Damn.
That was Liz.
That was Liz. There she was.
First call on the show.
That was a surreal experience.
That was,
I love
man.
that. Even though I do that every day at work,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different in the studio. It's kind of
It's
like in a
diff-
great way. In
Yeah.
a great way.
Yeah. How do you feel about everything that went down? How do you feel about our recommendations and kind of where
man.
she's at?
I mean, I think it was really good in the fact that we were able to isolate kind of those core false beliefs, and more importantly, we had to ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if she wrote in that email, it wouldn't have presented the same way as the conversation would.
That's right.
So I really, really, really enjoyed getting into the solution, getting into what needs to be addressed, kind of on both sides of the coin.
That's absolutely right, man. And I gotta say, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. And the only frustration I have is that we got Liz on the phone. We kept her on the phone for a while.
Yeah, sorry,
And,
Liz.
Yeah, when I really want to acknowledge her, because when I get advice, I'm very difficult to give advice to.
I know.
And I'll often just kind of sit in the, like, when people give me advice, it like activates this part of my ego that's really resistant, because if people give me advice, it means that I don't know everything,
Or that you're wrong.
or that I'm incapable of handling things on my own.
Yeah.
And when I look at that story a little deeper, the underlying emotion, the underlying story is that I'm incapable.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough, right? And
Same thing.
It always boils down to those little core false beliefs that define so much of how we present in the world and how we think of ourselves. And so with Liz, if there were one thing that I recommend looking at and working with, it's that core false belief that because XYZ, I won't XYZ, right? And, I really want to hammer home the acknowledgement of, continuing and pursuing her own work. Also having been there for somebody in active addiction, man. I mean,
Dude, that's huge.
man, we were addicts, Dal.
Yeah.
And we were a fucking pain in the ass, dude.
Yeah. And the people that loved us through that whole experience,
Damn.
they have the gratitude that we have for them, I would assume, if I am speaking for you and me.
Oh, yeah.
The gratitude that we have for the people that stuck by the whole time or tried to help is immense.
That's right.
It's enormous.
Yeah, it's humongous. And so for Liz, it's like, yeah, like absolutely, like, lean into these emotions of embarrassment, regret, like lean into that stuff 100%. While you do, just kind of keep it in your back pocket that is a story your ego's telling you based upon other people's judgments from the world. There's such heavy stigma around addiction and codependency, right? Like, oh, well, why didn't you just leave him? And
Right.
it's really get the fuck out of here with that, And so in your back pocket should also be present the fact that you, Liz, endured that, right? For, and the assholes in the world will say, oh yeah, it's codependence, right? But people like you and I, Dal, who understands why that happens, would see, man, there's so much compassion there. There's so much caring.
Right.
There's so much hope.
And when she knows that,
Yeah.
nothing else matters.
That's right.
Because it doesn't have to be right or wrong. It just is.
It just is.
It just
yeah.
is.
Mhm.
I was trying to do the right thing.
That's right.
And you did. And you, like you said, she was 21. She was naive. She didn't know. But she
Right.
still did the right thing without knowing.
Right.
Because that's the type of person that she is. That's
Yep.
good enough.
Yeah.
And when she can say that to herself, dude,
Boom.
bingo. You'll buy Liz stock, as you would say.
I would buy stock in Lizco, dude. Yeah.
Lizco.
Lizco.
Liz Co.
It's on the rise right now. and we're gonna buy some stock.
We're gonna buy some stock, dude.
Yeah, we're buying shares. It's like buying stock, Amazon stock in 95, dude. You know what I mean? That's where we're at.
I missed that train, but I'm not gonna miss this one.
No, not this one, dude. Liz Co. It's on the rise. They'll do $1 billion in sales. Watch. Now, that being said, we did throw out a couple book recommendations. I think Dark Side of the Light Chasers as well as A New Earth are absolutely perfect. And then we'll check in with Liz and reassess how it's been.
Dude, absolutely. That's the game plan. And I think it was kind of funny that we didn't check in about any of the other stuff that we talked about in the first episode. I was meaning to.
Oh, that's right. We didn't.
But kind of just got sidetracked with...
Yeah.
Or I guess main tracked.
We got main tracked.
We got main tracked onto the primary focus.
Yeah, and I think
that's okay.
One thing that we'll do is we'll have I think we should get TJ Woodward on the show to talk about core false beliefs.
Dude, and just kind of do like a little seminar type of thing.
A topic episode.
Yeah.
Because
like a refer to this. This
yes.
is why we talk like this about this. This is why this is so important.
Yep.
Kind of like Be Do Have, dude.
That's it.
Which we're going to revisit soon one day as well.
I believe so,
for our newer listeners.
Yeah, so if you're out there listening and you resonate with those core false beliefs, which
we all do.
That's everybody. We're going to dedicate an episode to that topic because it's so big. It's like I could have kept Liz on the phone until 9:00 tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed the new format.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Let us know what you think. We'd love that feedback. You find us on social media. We're at Betterment Bros. Find us on the web at betterment-bros.com. If you want to be on the show, you got something you want to email us about, you don't want to be on the show live, but you want us to talk about your situation on the show, you could write us an email, bettermentbros@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one, right, Dal?
We will see you guys on the next one. And while you're at it, if you feel like writing a review, dude, please do. We would love that. We haven't got one in a while.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Every week I check, and I'm like, damn,
no
I really
reviews.
wanted to read something cool. So if you like the show, you like Jeremy, you like me, you like our shirts, our personalities, anything about us, even if you just now newly like the website, write a review. Be like, dude, their website used to suck.
It did,
and now it doesn't.
That's right.
At least check out their show because they're fucking trying.
That's right. We're out here trying, folks. And, Dal and I, we have core false beliefs too.
We do.
And one of them, for me, is that I'm not good enough to ever get reviews on iTunes. So help me prove that wrong.
Or help keep proving that right, because it's really affecting the show.
And we love you guys. We'll see y'all next week. Right? I'm Jeremy Miller.
I'm Dallas Terrell.
Take it easy.